Hello everyone. Sorry, I'm very tired. It's been a brutal 2 days, but I am back. Worldbuilding Wednesdays are here to stay. It's going to be a shorter session tonight because I am so damn tired. And I need to go rewatch a old episode that I did some things and I can't remember what I did because it was a long time ago, because I haven't gotten around to doing this for quite a long time. So, but before I jump into that, why do I see only now that my the image on my GM screen is upside down? Sorry, this is going to annoy me. I ran a game last week Friday with my cousin and some of his friends, and then ran the same game on Monday as a kind of screen test for Dayum Fieri that is situated in a library, and then I'll change the image there, and apparently I put it upside down. Oops. That really wasn't the intention. But anyways, for the world-building stuff, obviously the laser cut things that I do is somewhat less relevant, so I'm just looking for my mouse, because I've got two screens in front of me today, because I'm drawing again. But yeah, I think the one dragging or capturing the most attention currently is the D20 lampshade, which I set to pulse, so it gently flows through lights. I might actually move it somewhere else and see if I can have that kind of as a permanent fixture. But if you're interested in that, go check it out on my website. I am in the process of launching some new products soon-ish, so yeah, keep a lookout on that. One of them, well, not specifically designed for D&D, the original design is tabletop wargaming, but I am designing it, and when I say original design, I'm talking about like 12, 13 years ago. It's probably the first ever terrain piece I designed for laser cutting. I'm redoing it into a readable version, and I'm designing it such that it will actually work for D&D as well. So yes, that should be up shortly. Some book nook related stuff, which will be fun. There's things in the works. It's just this year started a hell of a lot faster than I anticipated, and I haven't gotten around to doing a lot of the things that I was hoping I would be able to do. And then along with that, I don't think I would be able to be live tonight if it wasn't for Slayer. That way. Yay, that makes sense. Going to still have the GG's Gamer Serum. I really like this new flavor. I know there are people who prefer of the two new flavors, prefer the bubblegum. The bubblegum is fantastic. This is better. Shouldn't get the drawing glove weighted. So I'm hoping for the energy boost so I can actually focus on the live stream. So, I should probably add that as well. So, as the title suggests or will tell you, I'm focusing on Nunata today, which is probably the last of the major continents that I haven't added to the map yet. And the reason why I say it's, I'm sure I took this for, the reason why I'm saying I need to go watch an old episode again is because I drew a version of the map. So I'm just trying to find myself because I appear to have lost myself. I drew a rough version of the map some time ago. And the way I drew it is something I saw on, saw online, and I thought it was a cool concept, and decided I'm going to try it, which is effectively is this the right one? No, that's just also the right one. Rolls it. I lost it. Not one of those. Maybe, I'm sure I took this further than it appears currently. To take a large sheet of paper and just drop a bunch of dice onto said paper, and then draw around it to form continents, and depending on the number the dice fell on as well as the color, it would mean different things. So I did that, and I took a photo now of the map, which I will show momentarily. If I can find myself. Okay, while that is loading, I can quickly. My laptop is freaking out. So closing a bunch of things because apparently my laptop is dying. That's frozen. That's not frozen, that's good. Hopefully that's not frozen. Okay, that closed that one. Close that one. Can't exactly close this one. Okay, hopefully this works. Fuck. That's the one I'm looking for. I am greatly underprepared for this. Yeah, there you can see the corner of the photo. Let me get this zoomed in. Now I do realize it's not particularly clear. The drawing itself is pencil and paper, very roughly done. So it's not particularly clear. I had to edit a little bit just to draw the lines out a little, so they are more prevalent. Hey! Laptop decided to play along this time. More or less. Doesn't give me what I'm looking for, but it's playing along. So I drew that up, and I can't for the life of me remember what is what. So I need to go find that online from probably like 2 years ago now. Yes, I remember that. In the hopes that I can figure out what's going on there. Actually, see. Thinking nothing, no. interesting. Let's see if I can find this. Yeah, never mind. That one, playlists, Worldbuilding, no, that's not what I'm looking for. View full playlist, come on. One, Birth of God, Art of Rukutai, I remember that. Failed attempt at streaming photography, that might be it. It's also very possible that it's a rocky start. Oh no, that's something completely different. Nope. It's also not that. Maybe it's this? Hey, it's this. Okay, I found the original video. It's an hour long, and I cannot recall what I said each one was, so I have to go check that out. But it's there. I found it. I am currently fighting a little bit with the storage in my laptop because I'm also not finding big sketches I'm doing of the map. It's annoying, I haven't focused on this in much too long, and now I'm probably messing it up worse. The other thing that also plays a major role is the... It's not here. No. That does play a very, very big role is I am... See this, what is this? Properties. Okay, I found the other map, and apparently I have two different versions of the same map. And the other one doesn't even read map, that's why I couldn't fucking find it. Okay, I've been dabbling on for a while. So, last time I was drawing the map, this is more or less what it looked like. To give you a quick idea, that's where I started off with a rough draft of the map and a bunch of important locations, and then drew it up in significantly more detail. So I'm just going to drop the opacity on this one a little bit so I can see that original one. And then, let's just drop those two. I've added the outline sketch with a bunch of numbers and some small reference points that I did the whole dice thing on previously. So I have that in the correct position, so if you're looking there, it's at that. It doesn't follow quite the shape that I initially drew, but that was a rough draft. Nothing specific. I do like the way it is currently, because the way it is currently does... Why is there a mark on there for? Fuck it. It does lean into some other aspects of the lore in the previous campaign, Osvaldo. But, well, it does feed into that lore because it does bring Nunata, the Land of Dragons, a lot closer to Osvaldo, which explains why or how easy it was for the dragons to hop on over to to Wyvern Bank in Osvaldo. So lots of lore culminating together, but for now I'm actually going to leave this layer turned off, because if I make a mistake and I want it to be on that layer, so start off with a new layer, zoom all the way in, and then just start sketching this out. So the, see, no, I think that's decent. So Nunata originally, it's the first of the inhabited continents on the Atlas, on Eraba, the main material, or the main plane of existence. And it was inhabited specifically by what became later known as the scale skins. So the dragons, anything dragon related, except when dragons are mixed with other species, as well as other reptiles, so things like crocodiles, possibly even dinosaurs. All of that was existed predominantly on this continent, and during that point, and I may at some point make a map specifically to indicate what that continent looked like back then, because this continent has changed quite drastically from that time, and the reason for that is very, very simple. As with the end of the age for all major races, with the exception of humans, because we haven't actually gotten to the end of the human age yet, the dragons were overcome by greed, and the war that broke out was so magically powerful that it literally ripped the continent into different pieces and resulted in the floating islands that it is today. Why are so many people looking for me all of a sudden? Or is my phone just freaking out because I haven't paid attention to people yet? No, it seems like my phone's just freaking out. So the even to this day, several thousand years later, the magical forces that caused this group of islands to rip apart is still lingering and still so powerful that these islands are actually still floating to this day. I can quickly, thinking about it, see if it's going to allow me to quickly log in. Hey, let's. Nobody there. I've made notes on some things to try and make this easier. What's the one I'm looking for? So okay, maybe one day it will load. That's annoying. They changed the layout, and I'm not following what's going on here. Okay, so the end of the Dragon Age was about at year 3,500. The current age of existing, or currently where the campaigns are taking place, is around just past 14,000 years. So that means this happened about 11 to 12,000 years ago, and the magical powers are still so powerful that it keeps this in place, or these floating islands in place. So yeah, it was intense. Now, and this might end up changing it a little bit in the future, but looking at the real world in terms of something like Pangea and how the continents fit together very well, it could be an interesting design choice, which I don't want to say aggressively, but almost actively ignoring at this point. Largely because of the way I initially drew it up. Now I can still go and edit some of these islands later. It's one of the reasons why I'm drawing it on a separate layer. I'm also going to add the numbers and things onto this, and I actually have this as a reference. Wrong button. I'm not used to digital art. Yet. I'm sure I'm supposed to be a safe button. I fixed it! So, yeah. The plan is also to try out a different software, because I didn't find Sketchbook as intuitive, and I do find it very buggy. It really, I've had a couple of times where it's giving me issues, and the only way I can resolve the issue is by literally just saving the file, closing the software, and restarting it. That's not. But I'll draw everything in as much as I possibly can, and then see if I can just export this into different software. There's also a reason why I don't do this in Incarnate. Incarnate annoys me. It doesn't work the way I expect it to work. I think that's the best way to put it. I'm not saying it's a bad program, it's just it works differently than the way I want it. But yeah, so it's a series of floating islands, which to this day very few humanoids have ever explored, simply because of the very aggressive nature of its primary inhabitants. It's not really a safe place to explore. So factor in aggression. Just see how this goes. Works. kind of. I'm going to finish drawing it and then I'm going to readjust some of the details, because at this point it is, at least to my eye, quite clear that this is a collection of clumps of large objects such as dice that resulted in what it looks like currently, and I honestly don't like it. It doesn't scream true map to me. It is also definitely a possibility that I just haven't added the correct details in yet. Meaning it looks worse than it actually is, but for a moment thought that I'm not going to take the Pangea route and say, oh no, over the past X thousand years, due to erosion, these islands have changed quite a bit. Yeah, no, screw that. I am not going to try that. So would have been a cool argument, but no. So I'm just going to already start by drawing in some additional things and changing from the original drawing. I do remember there is a number of spots, such as over there, or over at Cliff, but I cannot type that. Okay. I appear to have lost the cliff. Close. Oh, I was almost there. Cliff. I'll actually have to go look up. The original drawing is lying there. I'll just have to go look up what exactly it's like wrote and numbers and things, because that didn't translate well through the. I think I was busy with this one. There would also be quite a fair number of old temples, presumably built by things like kobolds in worship to their dragon masters. I have also started a sketch, minor sketch, to try and better express my thinking in terms of these islands.
It's also an interesting way to approach this, as even though I'm drawing the islands the way they are currently, kind of have to take into consideration how they may have been several thousand years ago, which parts would fit where. That was monstrous. Thank goodness there's something like an undo button. A interesting trick that I was taught when I was younger. You draw your line, you slowly twist it. You make quite an interesting jagged line that works surprisingly well for coastlines. I may just do that. Most of them appears to be drawn. So this one I believe is going to be a very interesting one. Crease 41. Try and make it fit these three just to the right of it. So following that coastline there, it's a fairly short dip in that way, coming out again over there. I might need to flip this around. It looks as if it could fit, and it's less blobby. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to adjust some of the areas a little bit better, just to, well, partially to get away from the blobby feeling, and partially to start tying parts together. So follow, for argument's sake, that coastline over there. Although technically, would it be proper to call it a coastline? Okay, that feels a lot better. Still a little bit blobby, not quite as blobby as what's going on up here. That looks like it could fit. So now, I'm thinking I'm going to bring this one up a lot sharper. And instead of going in, bring that out that way, and then come that back up there. change the shape. Not quite such a sharp point. And then so that fits well there, but then bring it back out, and then bring it down. Continue this, let's say that way. Make that a little bit less dark. Kind of like this simply because it does remind me slightly of a puppy face. I'm thinking we bring more or less that length here, bring it in a lot earlier. And then make that a river. So that way, it does feel less blobby that way. Could also be someone that's smiling, the eye there, smile going up there. Maybe a beard, very pitched nose. I don't know. My drawing gets weird. That. Okay, that feels quite good. One layer. Flat layer. And walk layer. You may not have write permission for this file. I do not follow the logic in the slightest. I may change that. Sorry. I may change these two up here, but I'm going to leave them for now. Okay, I do not want to lose work. How? I'm honestly not following what's going on here. Apparently that solved the problem, at least for now. Well, we'll see how things change. So this one I'm going to adjust a little bit more to kind of follow that shape. That works. Because the floating islands are then really... this could work if I make this for argument's sake into more of a river. That sits into there, so I'm not too worried about this. Match that a little. What the fuck? I might move over to other software because this is annoying me. Go out flat. Feels more cohesive than just a bunch of blobs. So far. I'm still going to change aspects of this. But if we turn that off, doesn't look too shabby. So I have this group violence here at the bottom, and to that side. I might adjust their placement and layout as well. Now, I'm going to finish sketching it. So, I think I'm going to shift this one up. that torn away piece over there. Yay, the chaos. Interesting technique. Just that way, just a little bit. I pushed the wrong button. I really need to get a lot more used to drawing in digital. I know I said a lot, but I've made that mistake before. This one nearly fell off the page. I am strongly considering. Fuck off. Fuck off. Thank you. Finishing up this, duplicating the layer, and then shifting everything closer together to get a better idea of what the islands originally would have looked like. That would give me a better idea of am I on the right tracks. And then I've got the original continent, the Dragon Age continent. People making absolutely brilliant artworks using digital art, and I'm fighting to draw the outline of the map. Duplicate. Lock. That one is no longer. Neither of those are necessary. I'm thinking now, before I do that, no. There's a spot. What one? So far, so good. I really hope this works. Like a glove. So the ultimate goal is that this fits together as a single continent, which I'm not sure if that's going to happen yet. I'm not too fuck off. Too unhappy with this. I'm going to add sticky notes to the side of the tablet that reads what is what. All in all, I would say I'm missing like 3 land masses? 2 land masses? 3? 2? So at least that and that. Maybe. Sorry, something there. Maybe. But I don't like it. I kind of like this. Unless I split this one in 20. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sketch out those land masses. Obviously accounting for changes that would have occurred along the way, so it's not meant to be a perfect fit. I'm just going to do this on separate layers. Still have the original there, which can actually probably merge with that. Starting to like this. Yeah. I'm thinking I'm going to make 2 land masses out of this part. For simplicity's sake, just sketch them with separate layers. What just happened? That makes a little bit more sense. Was anticipating this, but it's fine. I'm just going to Let us see. I think that works quite well. I'm just going to move it, twist it slightly around, move it a bit more into the corner. It's not too far off from the original, just mirrored. This one. I am thinking. Saving thing again. Let us go ask Google what it is I want to do. I'm thinking I'm going to mirror this, and then I'm actually going to be very close to the original concept. I realized what happened. I'm stupid. So I mirrored it and it flipped to the opposite side of the screen. I did not think this one through. I mean, it's 90% there. I actually quite enjoy this a lot more. I mean, sure, I'll have to do that to this one. Doesn't allow me to mirror it. think I figured it out. I have figured it out. Because I still need to take note of everything that is written on it. But I do believe this is the way to go and have it spread out that way. What I'm thinking is line. So then I have that one island that is in its original place where the rest of it was, and the rest kind of spread out, blowing out towards the southwest from that. I think that's a very cool thing. And then I'll just do a sketch of the continent proper. Just talking about the idea of potentially changing up how things interact. Okay, quite a big change in how I approached it. And I think it's better off for the map. The fact that I chose to do it that way around. Just making sure it touches off.
I should do, is convert this to a vector format and then engrave on a big piece of wood for the studio. I actually know some people here in Pretoria that, as far as I understand, print maps on like a thick parchment. I think that can be quite a cool thing to do with this map. So one of the things that I did think as I was sketching this out, save. Oh, there's the continent. I pressed the wrong button again. So one of the things that I thought while sketching out is to some of the breakpoints within the map, so where the continent is actually split apart, is to have that as rivers on the original map. So points where potentially it already started cracking and then water started flowing, and just effectively making weak points for this wall to crack, or for this continent to crack apart and then blow off into the south, because, I mean, man, that looks so cool. I love this. Okay. I will keep this one layer that shows how they all fit together, just for my sanity. Hey, not that my sanity is something to really stress about. I'm going to sketch in some rivers. I'm going to make some notes. There is a number of other things that I still want to do, play around with in terms of digital drawing, but that's not really world building. That's just for the stream in general, just some behind the scenes stuff. And I was planning on doing that last night, and that did not happen because my landlord had other ideas. Brilliant guy, but he asked me to build drawers and stuff for him, and it took a lot longer than I anticipated. So he's not an asshole, he's just what he asked me to help out do took a hell of a longer than what I thought it would. So in doing this, I will definitely be ignoring some of the dice roll aspects and actually have things be formed a little bit more naturally. So for instance, in this area, have a mountain range, probably another one over here, which would force the rivers down. So maybe just like a mountain range for that C shape in general. That was clever. Feels quite interesting. Maybe another river on this side. Rivers with a lake inside that gets torn up and shattered towards the southwest. This is awesome. I really like this. Slayer's nearly done, then I think I should call it a day. And it does actually fit very well there. Probably best on this one. I think this is quite cool. I do believe I need to add a lot more rivers and things to the rest of the world, and looking at other spots in the rest of the world. Just adding another layer because safety there, there, and there. There's small little islets that I don't have anywhere in the Western Hemisphere, which is less than ideal. So we'll just and then they could have been scattered away in the blast. And I have defined that it's a it's the magic that caused this aspect of the world to break apart in the way that it did. But I haven't defined the specifics of the event as of yet. So that is still open to figure out. Why did this happen? Feels a little bit more real. Maybe just add some islands here as well. What you mean? I'm actually trying to remember, did I name that event or not? That cause, well, that ripped the continent into pieces. And also, so we're going to do this. So if you're looking from the south to these floating islands, so for an argument's sake, you got your horizon line there, for argument's sake. You have the southern reaches of Sobuk over there. Just and then you have the first island, and then they gradually, as they go further from that level, and actually pop out of the ocean until they reach there. Which could be interpreted as the as inviting. But so it could be inviting to some, but not necessarily a good place to visit. I'm not going to stop anyone that visits there, but it's probably for the best you stay away. I'm actually going to say this.
10 minutes later, that starts. But I think that I'm thinking I'm in a good spot. I am quite happy with the way things are. I will be spending a lot more time to refine the map, to get it to a point where it's actually usable and I can possibly print them out and things like that. There's a handful of things that I could potentially do now that the map is done, and having all the continents laid out exactly where they are does make my life a hell of a lot easier in terms of the rest of world building and where certain things go and how certain things happen. Although the way I do it and the way I enjoy it is for things to happen organically, for it to there to be a little bit of real world physics involved in how things would actually occur within the world, because obviously the way we as humans in our world expanded and adapted to things and changed things and so on is very much based on our world, and I believe that for other cultures, even fantasy cultures, the same basic rules would apply, which is why I actually really enjoy, even though I'm not going to be a very expert on it. What's it called? I can't remember the word now. There's a specific word for it. I know it's the study of human cultures. Anthropology, that's the word I was looking for. So I'm quite curious in terms of anthropology, and looking up and things like that, reading how certain things interacted. By no means an expert, just curious. But I mean, etymology, similar curiosity, how do words develop, how, and the history of warfare and so on, and I believe that curiosity does actually play a large part in how I end up designing my world. Because even though it's not necessarily at the forefront of the world creation, it is still something that I keep in the back of my mind. But yeah, even though I was very, very tired and still am, and not really looking too much forward to this stream, I actually really enjoyed myself, and I do believe I did get a lot further with what I was trying to do, and having at least an outline of the map makes me very happy. So yes, thank you for joining me. Future, if I'm busy with something like that, you're more than welcome to comment things and give suggestions. So I'm not going to necessarily take you up on it, but I would definitely be curious. So yes, this past Sunday I did pass out because of exhaustion. But Mini Mania will be back this coming Sunday, and next week we are starting with Deum Fieri, which I'm very excited about. That's going to be incredible. And yeah, so Sunday Mini Mania, next week Wednesday, episode 1 of Deum Fieri. Have a wonderful evening. I shall see you on Sunday. That one.